At the end of May, we made a video giving you guys my thoughts on Jon Prosser's Apple Watch Series 7 leak, which basically showed a massive redesign with flat edges and two gigantic speaker grills. But today, I want to go over some fresh new leaks, coming from Mark Gurman this time, that do not actually focus on the new design, but rather on the actual features that we expect to see with this year's Apple Watch. So, get our popcorn ready and enjoy. Okay, now the reason why I think Mark Gurman's Apple Watch Series 7 report is such a big deal is because if you take a look on Apple Track, Mark Gurman is currently the fourth most accurate leaker with an accuracy of 89.1%. But what you probably don't know is that Mark has by far the highest number of leaks, 402 compared to 191 that 9to5Mac has, who are in the second place. Which makes Mark Gurman the world's most accurate Apple leaker if we go by the number of leaks that he actually got correct. Now, Mark is known to be quite conservative when it comes to the changes that he usually expects a product to have, so he will only report on the ones that he's absolutely certain of, which if we go by his previous track record, he's usually right. On top of this, Mark Gurman has written this report with his Bloomberg colleague, Debbie Wu. She has also appeared on a number of successful Apple Insider reports alongside Mark. Okay, so the first new change that Mark expects us to see with the Series 7 is a faster processor. And yes, I know, this one is a no-brainer, as every single new Apple Watch has had a new chip inside. And all of these chips, aside from the S5 inside the Series 5, offered a performance improvement over the previous model. Now, here's the thing. I'm currently using an Apple Watch Series 5. I've had this thing for almost 2 years now, and I've never really felt that it was slow. Even today, it runs very smoothly and it feels blazing fast. But I do actually have one major complaint with it, which is the battery life. I mentioned this in previous videos, the fact that my Series 5 just cannot last me a full day, especially if I do a workout in that day, by 8 or 9 p.m. or even before that, it is already dead. And because of that, I just avoid using it for sleep tracking. So what I really want to see with the Apple Watch S7 chip is not faster performance, but rather more efficiency that can give me those 2 days usage that I had with the Series 4, as well as the ability to use sleep tracking without having to charge my watch beforehand. You see, the problem with the sleep tracking at the moment is that, at least in my case, I have to charge it before bed. And even if I charge it to 100%, in the morning I will have 70%, which means that in that case, if I start a day with 70%, it's gonna die by like 6 p.m. or 5 p.m., especially if I do a workout. So it's just not great and not usable, at least for me. Mark Gurman also mentioned that the Series 7 is getting improved wireless connectivity. Now, this is an interesting one, as it can mean faster Wi-Fi and faster cellular as well. Currently, the Apple Watch Series 6 supports 802.11b GN on 2.4 and 5 GHz bands. However, it does not support 802.11ac or the new Wi-Fi 6 standard. I'm pretty sure that there are no Wi-Fi 6 modems that are small enough to fit into a smartwatch, so my guess here is that 802.11ac will be added instead. Even though, personally, I never really had any Wi-Fi speed issues with my Apple Watch. I always find it to be quite fast for what I'm doing, which are notifications and music streaming. So yeah, for me at least, it's been great. But like I said, we could also see improved cellular speeds. So at the moment we have LTE, so in theory, we could see 5G. But once again, I'm not aware of any 5G modems and antennas that could actually fit in a smartwatch. So my guess from what Mark Gurman has said is that we would be getting 802.11ac at best. And then Mark also mentioned that the Series 7 will be getting the ultra-wideband chip, the One chip, so maybe this is what he meant when he said that we're getting some connectivity improvements, maybe it was the U1 chip in the first place. I was actually quite surprised when the Series 6 did not get it, as iPhones have had it since the iPhone 11 in 2019. However, I think that this might have had something to do with the limited space inside the Apple Watch again. But now that we got the AirTags, which do actually feature the ultra-wideband chip inside, and keep in mind the AirTags are really tiny, so the U1 chip is also very tiny inside of them, it does also make a lot of sense for Apple to be using that exact same chip inside the Apple Watch Series 7 as well. This will allow us to find an AirTag using the Apple Watch, which at the moment, it cannot do at all, not even using Bluetooth. Okay, now most of you watching this video probably have at least one Apple product. So if you're looking for some truly premium Apple accessories, check out BandWerk, our sponsor for this video. BandWerk originally started with high-end Apple Watch bands handmade entirely out of premium leather. They even had some collections where they used the interior leather of supercars to make their bands. Well, they still have those, but now they have iPhone cases and even AirTag accessories too. The iPhone case that we have here is BandWerk's Magacage line, which is made out of Italian Napa leather by hand. Now, aside from the quality, what is really unique about this case is that it comes in multiple colors and you can customize it too, by adding your initials or even a logo when you order it. Also handmade from the same Napa leather is BandWerk's new AirTag keyring accessory, which is the most premium AirTag keyring that I've ever seen. It even comes with these tools to install your AirTag in. Check out BandWerk's line of Apple accessories by using the link below. Okay, the next change that Mark Gurman mentioned are thinner bezels, as well as a new lamination technique that brings the display closer to the front cover. Now, thinner bezels are always welcome. Jon Prosser also stated the same thing, by the way, that Apple has been testing models with thinner display borders, but that he wasn't sure if this would indeed come to the Series 7 or not. And the way Mark Gurman phrased it makes it look like he's not 100% sure of it either, but rather that it is something that Apple has tried and is currently considering. By the way, I don't actually think that the bezels on the Series 4, 5, or 6 are thick by any means, especially since in most cases, you don't even see them as the display's background is black. But of course that I would never say no to a larger display in the same form factor, which is essentially what we got with the move from the Series 3 to the Series 4. Now, in terms of that display lamination that Mark Gurman mentioned, I never really noticed this being an issue on the Apple Watch. On the entry-level iPad, definitely, as that screen is not laminated at all. However, one benefit of that thinner lamination that I can think of is a slightly increased brightness, as the pixels would be closer to the surface. I also believe that this would also result in reduced reflections. You probably noticed that the Apple Watch display is actually very reflective, so a thinner lamination could also reduce the amount of reflections on the screen. Oh, and have you noticed how Mark Gurman hasn't actually said anything in his report about the redesign? More about that soon. Speaking of more, if you want to see more awesome and interesting tech videos, definitely subscribe, it's free. And that's it, so thanks. And something that we've heard rumored before is that the Series 7 might come with a blood glucose monitoring sensor. Now, unfortunately, Mark Gurman says that this will not be ready for commercial launch for at least a few more years. He does say that Apple was considering putting a body temperature sensor in this year's model, but this will now more likely be included in 2022 inside the Series 8. So from the looks of it, at least according to Mark, the Series 7 would not have any extra sensors, which is a bit sad, as this was what I was really hoping to see the most, aside from that redesign, of course. Speaking of that redesign, what's up with that? Is it still happening? Like, Mark hasn't said anything about that. Well, kinda. So the first rumors of that major redesign came from Ming-Chi Kuo, who essentially said in late 2020 that Apple was working on a significant form factor design change that could come as early as the second half of 2021. Kuo hasn't really said that it will come this year, but rather that it is in the works and it may come as early as this year. And technically, Jon Prosser even said the same thing in his video. He said that his source never mentioned that this is the Apple Watch Series 7, but rather that this is just a new Apple Watch that Apple is currently working on. Jon said in his video that this might as well be the Series 8, So yeah, we just cannot know for sure. And the fact that Mark hasn't really said anything about his redesign is quite strange to me. So here's what I think. The original Apple Watch design was unveiled in 2014. Then in 2018, 4 years later, we got the Series 4, which was the first redesign of the Apple Watch. So technically 2022 would be when the next redesign should happen, if we go by what Apple did in the past with the Series 4. A 4-year design cycle is also what Apple usually does with the MacBook Pros as well. So I think that it would actually make more sense for us to get that redesign in 2022 rather than this year. But then I was thinking of something. You know how the Apple Watch Series 4 came out in 2018, so a year after the iPhone X's redesign, and pretty much had the same design language. And we got the iPhone 12, the new design language, in 2020. So technically, if we go by that logic, the Apple Watch redesign would actually come this year. Like, if Apple does not change the design this year, then the only upgrades would be the faster processor and the thinner display lamination, which most people don't care about. So it's just the faster processor, which again, most people don't care about. So you can just buy the Series 6. However, Mark Gurman might have said something in his report that might point to a redesign. So he said that the Series 7 is getting thicker, not in the way that users would actually notice, but that the thickness will be increased. So maybe that is actually part of the redesign, or if it's not, then it would be even stranger because you know how the display assembly is getting thinner? So obviously that saves space inside. So why is the Apple Watch getting thicker if, you know, there's more space inside? Well, it could be because Apple is considering finally adding a larger battery, which in combination with the S7 processor should give and could give the Apple Watch a noticeably improved battery life. At least I sure hope so. So at the end of the day, it's pretty much these two options. Option 1, no redesign and a faster processor alongside an improved battery and of course those lamination improvements, or option 2, that redesign and we still get a battery improvement by the fact that we get a thicker body as well. So obviously everyone would want that redesign, but I don't know, I'm like 50-50 on that. I do hope that it happens, but it also might not happen until next year. Speaking of next year, Mark Gurman also had some things to say about the Series 8 in 2022. The fact that it won't be launching in one model, but 3 instead. The Series 8, the SE2, and then a third model, which would be something targeted towards extreme sports athletes. This is actually something that Mark first reported back in March 2021, that the Apple Watch would offer extra impact resistance in the future and just a rugged design similar to traditional Casio G-Shock watches. And yeah, I'm definitely not a big fan of that. Actually, I'm not a fan of that at all. That just doesn't make sense when you can just buy, you know, a case for your Apple Watch to achieve the same result. Why would you want to buy this permanently cased Apple Watch that will only be useful to you when you're doing some extreme sports? And then, you know, when you have to go to, I don't know, like a more formal event, like what do you do then? Do you just buy like a more premium Apple Watch? Samsung also had the same thing with their active line of Galaxy phones, which, by the way, doesn't exist anymore. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and what do you think of everything that I said. But for me at least, in order to upgrade from my Series 5, the Series 7 will need to have a redesign or at least an improved battery, like a significantly improved battery life, because otherwise I just don't see any reason to upgrade. So in the end, I just don't see Apple only upgrading the processor. I do think that we would also get something else. Maybe the improved battery, maybe that redesign. I think it's just a matter of time until we actually get to see the Series 7. So also let me know, what features would you want it to have for you to actually upgrade to it? And definitely subscribe if you want to see more interesting tech videos like this one hopefully was, and give it a like if you have enjoyed it to let us know. I'm Daniel, this has been Zen of Tech, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Zen of Tech, signing out. Cheers.